The African sun, a great golden orb, cast long shadows across the vast plains of South Luangwa National Park. It was late afternoon on this day, June 13th, 2026. The air was warm and filled with the gentle hum of life. A lone lioness, a magnificent creature of muscle and grace, was resting peacefully under the shade of a sausage tree. Her tawny coat blended perfectly with the dry grasses that surrounded her. She seemed utterly at ease, her powerful body relaxed, her amber eyes half closed. This was her kingdom, a land of breathtaking beauty and profound wildness, where every moment is a delicate balance between life and the struggle for it. Nearby, a truly immense gathering was taking place. A herd of Cape buffalo, numbering perhaps 2,000 strong, moved slowly across the landscape. They were a sea of dark hides, broad horns, and immense power. Their collective movement was like a slow, dark river flowing over the earth, kicking up a fine haze of dust that caught the afternoon light. The sound they made was a constant, low rumble, a mixture of soft grunts, the swishing of tails, and the rhythmic munching of grass. For now, there was a sense of harmony. The great herd grazed peacefully, unaware of the powerful predator watching them from her shady vantage point. This scene, so tranquil and serene, is the very essence of the African bush. It is a world where predator and prey can exist side by side, each respecting the invisible boundaries that define their territories and their lives. The lioness was not yet hunting. She was conserving her energy, a vital resource in this demanding environment. The buffaloes, for their part, were focused on the singular important task of feeding, building the strength needed to sustain their massive bodies and to protect their young from the ever-present dangers that lurk in the tall grass. It was a picture of ancient rhythms, unchanged for millennia. But in the wild, peace is often just a prelude to drama. The calm can be shattered in an instant. Every creature here, from the smallest insect to the largest mammal, is part of a complex and interconnected web of survival. The lioness, though resting, was always aware. Her ears twitched, catching the faintest sounds carried on the breeze. Her nose tested the air, gathering information about the world around her. The buffalo herd, despite its size and apparent safety in numbers, was also on a quiet alert. This temporary truce between hunter and hunted was destined not to last the day. Suddenly, something shifted. The lioness, once a picture of perfect repose, slowly lifted her head. Her body, which had been so relaxed, became taut with a newfound purpose. Her amber eyes, previously half closed, were now wide open and intensely focused. The lazy contentment was gone, replaced by a sharp, calculating intelligence that is the hallmark of a top predator. She had seen something. Her gaze was not fixed on the main body of the immense herd, but rather on its frayed edges, where the mass of bodies began to thin out. It is here, on the periphery, that vulnerability often lies. Her attention settled on a single individual. It was a large buffalo, perhaps not the oldest or the youngest, but one that had wandered just a few crucial steps away from the safety of its companions. It was engrossed in grazing on a particularly lush patch of grass, its head down, momentarily disconnected from the collective awareness of the herd. To an ordinary observer, it was just one buffalo among thousands. But to the lioness, it was an opportunity. Her hunter's instinct, honed over countless generations, had identified a potential target. The complex calculus of the hunt had begun in her mind. The change in the lioness was remarkable. She was no longer just a passive observer of the landscape. She had become an active participant, a force of nature preparing to assert her will. Every muscle in her powerful frame seemed to awaken. She rose from her resting position, not with a sudden movement, but with a slow, deliberate grace that was utterly silent. Her paws, large and padded, made no sound as they settled on the dry earth. She lowered her body, crouching low to the ground, making her profile as small as possible. The game had started. This moment represents a fundamental truth of the wilderness. Survival is a matter of observation and opportunity. The lioness was not acting out of malice, but out of necessity. The need to feed herself, and perhaps a hidden pride of cubs, is the driving force behind every hunt. Her focus on the lone buffalo was absolute. The rest of the world, the thousands of other animals, the vastness of the plain, all of it faded away. There was only the hunter and the hunted, and the space between them that she was now preparing to cross. It was a primal and powerful connection, invisible yet unbreakable. The stalk began. The lioness moved with a fluidity that was simply breathtaking. She seemed to pour herself over the ground, her belly almost brushing the tops of the dry grass. Every step was placed with immense care and precision. She used every dip in the terrain, every bush, every termite mound as cover, inching her way closer to the unsuspecting buffalo. Her movements were so slow and deliberate that she seemed to be part of the landscape itself, a ripple in the heat haze. The tension was almost palpable. This was a high-stakes endeavor where a single mistake could mean failure. Her concentration was absolute. Her eyes never left her target. She watched the buffalo's every move, timing her own advances with moments when the buffalo's head was down, completely absorbed in its meal. When the buffalo lifted its head to look around, the lioness would freeze instantly, becoming a statue of tawny fur and coiled muscle. She could hold this frozen posture for minutes at a time, a testament to her incredible patience and discipline. The distance between them slowly, painstakingly began to close. She was a ghost, a silent shadow moving with lethal intent across the sun-drenched plain. The air itself seemed to grow heavy with anticipation. The gentle sounds of the bush continued, the chirping of insects, the distant call of a bird, but they were now just a backdrop to this silent, intense drama. The lioness was now well within the danger zone. She was close enough that a sudden turn of the buffalo's head, a shift in the wind carrying her scent, could give her away. The risk was enormous, but so was the potential reward. A successful hunt would provide food for days, ensuring her survival and that of her lineage. She gathered her powerful hind legs beneath her, preparing for the final explosive phase of the hunt. Her tail, which had been held low and still, began to twitch almost imperceptibly at its very tip, the only outward sign of the immense energy and adrenaline building within her. The moment was approaching. The careful, silent stalk was about to transform into a burst of raw power and speed. The peaceful afternoon was on the brink of erupting into a chaotic struggle for life itself. The lioness waited for the perfect instant to launch her attack, a decision upon which everything depended. Then, she exploded. In a blur of tawny fur and raw power, the lioness launched herself from her concealed position. The change from absolute stillness to incredible speed was astonishing. She covered the remaining distance to the buffalo in just a few giant, silent bounds. Dust and dry grass flew into the air as her massive paws propelled her forward. For a fleeting second, she seemed to fly, a guided missile of instinct and muscle aimed directly at her chosen target. The buffalo, startled from its peaceful grazing, had only a fraction of a second to react. It looked up, its eyes wide with sudden terror. The impact was immense. The lioness, a creature of incredible agility and strength, leaped onto the buffalo's back, her sharp claws digging deep into its thick hide for purchase. Her goal was to bring the much larger animal down, a feat of extraordinary power and technique. The buffalo let out a loud, panicked bellow that echoed across the plain. It was a sound of shock and fear, and it served as an instant alarm to the rest of the herd. The lone buffalo bucked and spun, trying desperately to dislodge the predator clinging tenaciously to its back. The scene descended into chaos. The single bellow of the attacked buffalo was answered by a chorus of alarm calls from the entire herd. The peaceful grazing stopped instantly. 2,000 heads snapped up, 2,000 pairs of eyes turned towards the commotion. What had been a calm, slow-moving river of animals became a churning, panicked sea. The buffaloes closest to the attack began to scatter in confusion, their immense bodies crashing into one another. The ground trembled under the thunder of thousands of hooves as a wave of panic spread through the colossal herd. For a moment it was a whirlwind of dust, noise, and frantic movement. The lioness held on with grim determination, her muscles straining as she wrestled with an animal many times her own weight. The buffalo fought back with the desperate strength of a creature fighting for its life. It twisted and bucked, using its sheer size and power to try and throw the lioness off. The solitary duel was at the heart of a growing storm, as the initial panic of the herd began to transform into something far more dangerous for the lone hunter. The initial wave of panic that had scattered the buffalo herd began to subside, replaced by a powerful, collective instinct. Cape buffalo are not animals that flee blindly from danger. They possess a formidable weapon, their numbers. The scattered individuals began to rally. Instead of running away from the danger, they started to turn and face it. The low grunts and panicked bellows changed in tone, becoming deeper, more aggressive rumbles. A few of the larger bulls at the front of the herd took the lead, their massive heads held high, their curved horns glinting in the sun. Slowly but surely the tide began to turn. The sea of buffaloes, which had momentarily parted, now began to close in. They formed a formidable living wall of muscle, horn, and aggression, moving purposefully towards the struggling pair. The lioness, who had been focused entirely on her battle with the single buffalo, suddenly found herself at the center of a shrinking circle. The hunter was rapidly becoming the hunted. The odds, which had seemed manageable just moments before, were now overwhelmingly stacked against her. She was one against thousands. This incredible display of unity is what makes buffaloes one of the most dangerous animals in Africa. They understand the power of teamwork. The sight was truly awe-inspiring. A solid phalanx of dark bodies and sharp horns advanced, kicking up a thick cloud of dust that choked the air. The ground shook with their combined weight and purposeful advance. They were no longer a herd of grazers. They were an army, united in the defense of one of their own. For the lioness, this was an extremely perilous situation. A single misstep could see her being trampled or gored. The buffalo she was clinging to seemed to draw strength from the arrival of its companions. It continued to buck and twist, making it impossible for the lioness to get the secure grip she needed to deliver a finishing bite. She was trapped in a whirlwind of hooves and horns, with an angry army closing in on all sides. The bravery of her initial attack was now overshadowed by the stark reality of her predicament. The courage of one was being met by the courage of many, and in this contest, numbers were beginning to matter more than anything else. The lioness was a creature of powerful instincts, and those instincts were now screaming at her that the danger was just too great. She could feel the vibrations in the ground as the massive herd closed in, and she could hear the aggressive snorts and bellows that surrounded her. The window of opportunity for a successful hunt had slammed shut. To continue the fight now would not be brave, it would be suicidal. The primal drive for survival, which is even stronger than the drive to hunt, took over. She had to make a choice, and she had to make it quickly. With the same decisiveness that she had used to launch her attack, she made the decision to retreat. In a single, fluid motion, she released her grip. Her claws retracted, and she let go of the bucking buffalo, dropping lightly to the ground. For a fraction of a second, she was in the most vulnerable position imaginable, on foot, surrounded by a legion of angry, powerful adversaries. She did not hesitate. She immediately turned and sprinted away from the closing circle of horns, her powerful legs carrying her swiftly across the dusty ground. Her retreat was not a sign of failure, but a demonstration of profound intelligence and self-preservation. Lions, for all their power, are not invincible. They have an innate understanding of risk versus reward. This particular battle was lost. The cost of continuing was a potential crippling injury or even death, which would serve no purpose. By choosing to retreat, she was choosing to live, to hunt another day, to perhaps find an easier, less perilous opportunity. Her courage had been proven in the attack. Her wisdom was now being proven in the retreat. She ran with incredible speed, putting distance between herself and the enraged herd. The buffaloes, having successfully defended their companion, did not give a long chase. Their objective was to neutralize the threat, not to pursue it indefinitely. A few of the larger bulls made a short, aggressive charge in her direction, their horns lowered, ensuring that she was truly leaving the area. The lioness glanced back only once before disappearing into the safety of the tall grass, her heart pounding, her hunt over. She had risked everything and come away with nothing but the experience. As the lioness vanished into the bush, the buffalo she had attacked stood trembling, but remarkably, it was unharmed. There were a few scratches on its thick hide where the lioness's claws had dug in, but these were superficial wounds that would heal quickly. It stood for a moment, catching its breath, its large body shaking from the adrenaline of the life-or-death struggle. Its companions gathered around it, nudging it with their heads in a gesture that looked remarkably like reassurance. The immediate danger had passed, thanks to their collective and courageous intervention. The buffalo slowly made its way back into the very heart of the herd. It was immediately swallowed up by the immense mass of its family, disappearing from view. This reunion was a powerful symbol of the herd's strength. An individual, when isolated, is vulnerable, but when it is part of the group, it is protected by a nearly impenetrable fortress of horns, hooves, and shared vigilance. The buffalo was safe again, its ordeal over. The low rumbles and grunts of the herd gradually returned to a calmer rhythm as the collective sense of alarm began to fade away. The herd did not immediately resume its peaceful grazing. They remained on high alert for some time, their heads up, scanning the horizon for any sign of the predator's return. The bulls on the perimeter maintained their defensive posture, forming a protective ring around the more vulnerable cows and calves in the center. They were taking no chances. This incident served as a stark reminder of the constant dangers of their world and reinforced the importance of their social bonds. Their unity was their survival, a lesson demonstrated in the most dramatic fashion possible. Eventually, as the sun dipped lower towards the horizon, casting a warm, orange glow over the landscape, the tension finally eased. One by one, the buffaloes lowered their heads and began to graze once more. The great dark river of animals started to move slowly again, the rhythm of their peaceful existence restored. The drama was over. The escaped buffalo was just one among thousands again, its individual identity merged back into the collective. It had survived its encounter with one of Africa's most formidable hunters, all thanks to the power of the herd. This incredible encounter between a single lioness and 2,000 buffaloes offers us a profound insight into the laws that govern the natural world. It is a story rich with lessons about courage, strategy, and the importance of community. The lioness displayed breathtaking bravery. To even consider attacking an animal within such a massive and dangerous herd is a testament to her confidence and power. Her courage reminds us that survival in the wild often requires taking immense risks. She did not hesitate to challenge overwhelming odds for the chance of a vital meal. However, the story also teaches us that courage alone is not always enough. The lioness's bold strategy was met by an even more powerful counter-strategy: the unity of the herd. The buffaloes demonstrated the incredible power of teamwork. As individuals, they were prey. As a collective, they were an unstoppable force. Their instinct to rally together, to turn and face the danger rather than flee from it, is a remarkable survival tactic. It shows that in nature, as in our own lives, there is immense strength in solidarity and mutual support. Furthermore, the lioness's decision to retreat is a powerful lesson in wisdom and pragmatism. Knowing when to fight is important, But knowing when to stop, when to cut your losses and withdraw, is a sign of true intelligence. Her survival depended on this calculated decision. She respected the power of her opponents and understood that the situation had become untenable. This teaches us a valuable lesson about the importance of assessing a situation and not letting pride or desperation lead to a disastrous outcome. Sometimes the wisest choice is to walk away and wait for a better opportunity. Finally, this event fosters a deep respect for both predator and prey. We admire the lioness for her audacity, her skill, and her raw power. At the same time, we must respect the buffaloes for their resilience, their fierce loyalty to one another, and their unbreakable spirit. Neither is the villain or the hero in this story. They are both magnificent survivors, playing their roles in the grand, complex drama of the African wilderness. Each is perfectly adapted to its life, and each deserves our admiration for its ability to navigate a world of constant challenge. As dusk began to settle over South Luangwa, a profound sense of peace returned to the plains. The sky was painted in soft hues of purple and orange. The lioness, having retreated from her failed hunt, found a new spot to rest, perhaps contemplating her next move under the emerging stars. The great buffalo herd continued its slow and steady grazing, the memory of the dramatic encounter already fading into the rhythms of the evening. The immediate conflict was over, and a beautiful, quiet harmony was restored to the landscape. This outcome, where no life was lost, is a wonderful reminder of the balance of nature. While the wilderness is often portrayed as a place of relentless struggle, it is also a place of resilience and often of peaceful coexistence. Not every hunt ends in a kill. Not every confrontation ends in tragedy. Sometimes, the drama of the wild concludes with both parties walking away, ready to face the challenges of another day. This peaceful resolution is, in its own way, as beautiful and compelling as the thrill of the chase. The beauty of the wild lies in these unscripted moments. It is a world of constant surprises, where incredible dramas can unfold and then dissolve back into tranquility in a matter of minutes. Every day brings a new story, a new lesson in survival, courage, and community. Observing these events, even from afar, connects us to something ancient and fundamental about our planet. It reminds us of the intricate web of life that exists beyond our human world, a world of instinct, power, and breathtaking beauty. And so, as night fell completely on the plains, all was quiet. The lioness would hunt again, and the buffalo herd would continue its endless migration. Their paths would undoubtedly cross in the future. But for tonight, peace reigned supreme. The stars shone brightly over a land where life and nature continue their timeless dance, a dance of tension and release, of drama and serenity. And in that balance lies the true, enduring magic of the African wilderness, a wonder that we must always strive to protect and cherish.